Hey friends, hey family, Nettie here. How you doing? How you mama and them doing? Hopefully great, wonderful and marvelous. I am magnificent and fantabulous myself. um, hey, so it's a lot going on. It's a bunch of new energy. I know some of you feel it. It's a mixed bag though. I gotta say that. It's a mixed bag of energy, but the major energy is one of like great change, and it really covers both spectrums. There are a lot of people who are going through tower moments, and there are a lot of people that are going through ego deaths, and there are a lot of rebirths happening simultaneously on the other side of things where people are receiving um, all that they've hoped for, which is still very much a rebirth. And some of those still consist of tower moments, but it's just on both ends of the spectrum where this energy is pretty interesting. I'll say that. But then it came in with the new moon. The new moon was in Leo. And so if y'all know how Leo is characteristically, it's a little flashy. It like to come in with a little bang, like to be seen, you know, a little standout kid. So yeah, that's how that moon came in with a bunch of showmanship, if you will. But yeah, so um yeah, what I was gonna say something else. I forgot what it was, but I want to talk a little bit about a couple things. I want to know, or really just ask a question, and you can comment in the comments your take if you feel so inclined. But I'm curious to know, and it is a question that is important for the time because it's coming up a lot. You are, oh, before I get to that, when I say we have a lot going on, we got a lot going on in this planetary in this solar system, in this planetary alignment. We have Mercury that is retrograde, we have Pluto that is retrograde, we have Saturn that is retrograde, and we have Neptune that is retrograde. So four planets. Then and that was all taking place during a new moon in Leo. So it was some things. It was a kind of emotional situation. People's emotions were kind of flaring up, and we had some ego in the mix. That's what Leo would do. I don't know if you know about. I don't know if you know that, but Leo is characteristically flashy on the ego side. This ain't necessarily a characteristic of a person, but the sign itself and how it presents. So maybe not any Leo, or maybe some, are like that. But yeah, with that, it begs the question. So there are a lot of tower moments, like I said, that are taking place in a lot of rebirths, and it's important to know, and really, so I get the tower card energy for this segment, and I get the death card energy for this segment, and it's not a physical death, although maybe and for some of you there's a transition that is taking place, but this that I'm speaking of in the moment is like an ego death, would be characteristic on both sides of the tower or the death, but it's an end and a beginning, death and rebirth, which both of those cards symbolize. Although tower moments are usually a bit more intense, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Neither thing is bad or good as we would characteristically classify them as. They just are a part of the isness of life. It's more so neutral. But if we have to use the human vocabulary to describe them, they are all for your good. So we can call them good, even though they don't always feel so good. But I'm curious, and Spirit had put this question in my mind to ask: how do you face change? How do you respond to, or I guess these questions, how do you respond to a different viewpoint when it's presented to you? That's going to be extremely significant to consider going forward, because a part of change is changing your mindset, changing how you think about things to be able to take on new information. If you are locked off and closed up to new ideas and new information, then you won't be able to grow past whatever point you already are. So it's significant to consider that for yourself, and question yourself, deep dive into your mind and internally to see how you really respond to change. How do you respond to challenges to your belief system? Super significant. When somebody challenges your belief system, do you automatically shut down? Do you automatically try to fight back without hearing what it is they say or they're saying, to see if it makes any sense to you, to see if it actually resonates with you? Or do you desire to shut them down well before anything takes place in you, so just to ensure that you don't feel any resonance? This happens quite a bit. Anytime somebody challenges a viewpoint that you've long held, it can become a problem. It can become even hostile if we're not careful. But you have to ask yourself why, too. If you find that you are offensive when people present to you an opinion or a viewpoint that doesn't support the one that you currently have, and you feel offended, you should explore that. Explore why you feel offended about a thing. Also, the same with ideas and presentations of different viewpoints that challenge ours in a way that we don't necessarily get offended, but sometimes it should bring a measure of thought still. Sometimes it presents as more so intrigue or thought provoking, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that is good. That's the side of things you want to be on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are challenging your belief system to um, accept another belief per se, but you're open to the possibility of changing your mind if the evidence or the knowledge supports something that you find resonance with. But you're not going to be able to change, you're not going to be able to take on a different viewpoint. You can you can accept a different viewpoint without taking it on as your own too. That's another thing that we need to begin to work on, as opposed to just getting offended by anything that is in opposition or not the same, because it doesn't even necessarily have to be in opposition to what we are believing. A lot of times it's just that if you don't believe what I believe, then I can't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, and you are wrong. When the reality is that that is their perspective. That is something that they are allowed. They are allowed to be different from you. If this world was supposed to be full of yous, then it would be. But that is the beauty of humanity. We are all different. We all have different beliefs, and they are all supported by our upbringing. So we got to make sure that we're holding space for other viewpoints, just as a means to be able to have better relationships with ourselves and better relationships with others, because really it is actually kind of abusive to yourself to not be able to challenge your current thought process. A key part of growth is being able to challenge your belief systems. Why do you believe what you believe? Do you believe what you believe because you believe it and you find resonance with it, not because somebody else told you or somebody else introduced it to you or you were raised that way? If you have in every scenario, if you end up with more questions than you have answers, then you still need to keep searching for the answers to those questions. And sometimes that still means that you need to look outside of your current belief structure to be able to find the answers to those questions. And once those questions, the problem is we get too afraid that it's going to pull us away from this long held belief system. But what does it profit you to continue to hold on to a dead belief system? Like, really consider that. What does it profit you to hold on to that? It's not in any way beneficial to your growth because you're not growing at that point. And you, your purpose is expansion. We are always growing and changing. If we are not growing and changing, we are dead. And at that rate, your growth is stunted. And what are you doing? What are you doing? But it's just some things to consider. Um, and it's going to aid you through this change. For those who, so, for those who are going through changes that don't feel necessarily so easy to get to their destination, it's key to you to answer these questions for yourself and begin to challenge what you already know and believe. More so believe, because if you know it, then there's nothing really to challenge there. But a lot of things we think we know. Anyway, just challenge the things that you feel like you have potentially taken on from other people's belief systems. Like, would I believe the same thing if my mama didn't introduce it to me, or my dad didn't introduce it to me, or if it wasn't something the whole family did? We don't often realize the depth of that and how serious that can be. And that is where people talk about generational curses and generational traumas and that kind of thing. That's all the same, because we have not challenged many of the things that our family does, or the things that we've visited throughout our childhood, because it's so heavily ingrained and rooted in our family. Like, for a simplistic example, if most of the people on both sides, your mom's side and your dad's side, has diabetes, then more often people are going to believe that they are destined to get it. They feel like it is inevitable because that is their current proof. The fact that people, so many people on both sides have it. But some of them are very hard pressed to believe that they could be different. They will probably cuss you if you did the measure of work to try to convince them that that doesn't have to be their truth, that they can believe for something different and experience something different. Well, that's that case, and it seems like, well, that just doesn't make any sense. But we do that in so many other areas that are not in accordance to physical ailment or illness. We do it with religion, we do it with, all other sorts of belief systems that we have in place, relationships, about every we really do it about everything until we get to the point of actually challenging that we believe to be true. We're doing that. We're fighting for those limitations and wondering why nothing's changed. So often people are more inclined to suffer than to do something different that will change their situation. We'll take eating, for example. For another example, people would rather take medicine than eat to live. They refuse to believe that food can be their medicine. And it's the same subset of people, more often than not, that would rather take 5011 pills than to change their diet to accommodate living. And again, these are just examples. We do it in all sorts of areas. So it's important to challenge what you believe, is the point. Instead of just believing something just to be believing it because somebody told you, somebody else introduced it to you. What evidence do you have that you've been able to take resonance with? What's the evidence? And this evidence doesn't come just from outside. When I'm saying resonance, what is coming from inside of you concerning this thing? That's the other thing. It's easier to get the answers from outside of us, from everything and everyone else. If somebody could just please give me the answer. That's what makes many of these things so much easier to grasp, because I don't have to go inside and I don't have to do any kind of personal work to be able to make these discoveries that are necessary for me to live a whole life in accordance to what I need for me. But anyway, the Spirit is saying to question everything. So that you might be able to actually make the necessary changes to get to the places that you want to be in life. You can have whatever you want as long as you align with it. Stinking thinking don't get you there. And if we can't change our mind, we definitely got the stinking thinking thing going. Anyway, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. So that's the message. I'll leave you this message in love and in light. Consider those questions for yourself. Answer those for yourself. Journal about them. Might want to write that down. Because you're going to need some time to answer them questions and you're going to need some space. Plenty of pages to make that thing happen for yourself. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, all of the things, comments. How do you face change? How do you handle, deal with beliefs that are not your own, facing beliefs that are not your own? Till next time. Holla.